biggest thing you need to do in entrepreneurship is actually like manage your mind. It's like you will have these things come up on a daily basis. You will have clients leave you. You will have launches fail. You will have people ghost you. Like all of these things will happen. But what you have to do is make that decision every single day. Like, right, I could decide to spiral, make it mean something about me, or I can decide that like I'm going to be moving on to the next thing. Through this, I'm going to strengthen my conviction in myself.
Hello and welcome to the Ignition Path podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Goodknight. I appreciate you being a part of this again. I've been on a little bit of a break on the Ignition Path podcast with some personal things, nothing bad, just really busy with another section of my life. A lot of you know me as well and know that I'm a paramedic, and I'm doing a project right now that has been taking me to different conferences and speaking on stage and speaking to medical directors, and it's taken away from my Ignition Path podcast time, but that's okay because I'm building another part of my entrepreneurial tree, which is public speaking in the medical world. So, I'm getting back into it today. I've got a guest today that I'm super excited to talk about because she is my very first guest that doesn't have the traditional entrepreneurial path, and we'll explain that here in a minute what that means, because she has been an entrepreneur since day one. So it is I'm going to call her, I'm labeling her a career entrepreneur, meaning when she started her career, she started her entrepreneurial path. Jenny Unsworth is with me today. Hi, Jenny. How are you doing?
Hi, Kyle. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's so nice to be talking with you today. Yeah, I'm all the way over in the UK. We're having a beautiful day. Spring is arriving.
Oh, you don't want to know what's going on here then. We had our beautiful spring day 3 days ago. It was 77 degrees where I live. And then the next day it was 9 degrees in the morning with snow. And it's cold out now. I think we get up to, I think when I looked at it today, I think we get up to a whopping 45 today. I woke up at 23 degrees this morning. So yeah. And I'm, first day of spring, we all know, is in a couple of days. This podcast will go live after this date of what I'm going to say. But March 20th is typically the first day of spring, which is also my birthday. So if anybody would like to send support to the podcast for my birthday's sake, please do so. No, but usually by the time my birthday rolls around, I'm done with the cold. I'm like, okay, I'm done. First day of spring. That's the rules, right? So
Absolutely. Yes.
So when it comes to your part of the country that you're in, so what like longitudinal line would you be equal to in the States? Do you know? Like what? I don't know. It's just I'm curious. We never talked about that in the pre-call, so I'm just curious.
I have no idea. So in terms of the UK, in terms of England, I am right in the centre in a town called Birmingham. But in terms
Oh,
of,
you're in Birmingham. Okay.
yes, in terms of how that correlates to US, I am not so
Yeah, I'll
sure.
look. I'll look. Yeah, I'll look at a globe, Birmingham, England globe view, because that's where I usually like associate things along the longitudinal lines, and I can see like, okay, oh, you're equal with these type of states. So like if I look, honestly, you're up north, like you're more like equal with Canada.
Oh, okay, there you
Like
go.
you're like north of, so you're like more like middle, like essentially, yeah, you're well into Canada when I look at the globe. Interesting. Yeah, you're like north, like middle Canada. Yeah,
Oh,
crazy.
okay.
Okay, so you would typically have colder weather up there. Yeah, you get a lot of snow.
Not so much. You do get these snow days for Christmas, but yeah.
But yeah, so once again, I'm gonna ask Jenny to explain her path here in a second. But she is my very first guest when I had that has not had some form of corporate job. Maybe a couple of one-off, jobs in high school or something like that. But for the most part, when she started her entrepreneurial path, she was 17. So not too many jobs you can have, at least in the States, before 17. Maybe if you're working for your mom and dad or something like that. But our age limit here, I think, is 15 before you can get a job, and then some places you have to be more like like you can't like scan beer and alcohol until you're 18, that kind of stuff. So a lot of places you need to be a little bit older before you have a job. I think usually by the time someone's 17, they can get a job at, Chick-fil-A or any of the like fast food joints and most places. But yeah, so Jenny is going to talk about how her path started from the word go. So tell us all about that, Jenny. Share with how you got into what you were doing at the age of 17 and how you were making money at it, and then the process of realizing that, hey, this is something I can do for the rest of maybe my life, my career, and stay in this world. And then we'll get into some other questions that I have too. So go ahead and tell us all about that time and when you were 16, 17 years old, and how you started your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I love how you worded it like a career entrepreneur, because this is so normal to me that I forget that not everybody goes on this path almost.
Right.
That I have always from a young age just been so infatuated by entrepreneurship and working for myself. And when I was 17 years old, that wasn't even the intention for what I was going through. But a family friend just said to me, like, hey, like, you're into maths. I was doing a maths qualification at the time. And can you come and help my son out with some of his tests that he's going through in school? And I was like, absolutely, I would love to do that. And I think I charged like £5, $6 for a session because it wasn't really about the money. It was just, here's just an exchange. But I'm a little bit of a geek. So I'm like, I love doing this stuff. Of course, I will come and help you out. So that started from there, and I had that client for like the next 5 years. But we just started with one session
Wow.
after
Did you
another.
raise your prices at least? No.
Yes, do not
Did you?
worry. I did change. Um, and then once I kind of figured out, oh, I really enjoy this, like actually teaching, the element of teaching, I got my second client, I think just through, just like in my neighborhood sort of thing. Um, and then COVID hit, and I went to university in the same year. And I just thought, right, what can I do to still have my tutoring business? Because that's kind of what it was turning into now, but actually have more impact, earn more income so that I can support myself. So, like through university, I didn't have to get an external job or, spend like my nights doing things. Like I wanted to, I loved how I could teach and earn money through it and also get myself through university in that way. So it kind of spiraled from there, where I took my like two clients who I just built up a really strong, because I wasn't trying to make it something. All I focused on was like client experience, like giving them the best sessions ever so that, they stayed with me for a long time. But also then it was kind of word of mouth. So they would pass it on, they would pass it on. Um, and then fast forward to kind of just as I finished university, we were completely sold out of all of our spaces. And I thought, do you know what? Like, because coupled with that, and my degree was in business, and I've always been
Mm,
obsessed with marketing, like business and entrepreneurship. All of my modules were in there, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. So now that I'd really tried and tested what it was to build a business from the ground up, I was like, I want to teach people how to do this. And I want to teach them in a way that they feel so alive with what they're doing. Because I think entrepreneurship can be something that completely drains you and that you're always aiming for the next goal. But I wanted to do it in a way where you love what you're doing. So that's kind of what I do today is I help people grow their businesses from like zero to inconsistent sales to fully booking out their offers and doing it in a way where they feel like so behind and so happy with what they're doing.
that's fantastic. And that was actually my next line of you kind of covered almost everything. I mean, okay, we're done. Bye. No, because I wanted to ask more about your university time too. And so you've dabbled in, we're going to expand on it. But so one of my questions was when it comes to your clients when you were at university, and did you go 4 years or did you already have some pre-college stuff taken care of, or how long were you in your university?
Three
The
years
4 year
from
degree normal?
2020 to 2023. Yeah.
3 years. Oh, look at the big brain on Jenny. 3 years. I took six. No, I had an off year though. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I went 3 years at Ohio State University, took a year off, and then went to a local area for a specific my respiratory therapy program. So I took a full 6 years total in school, but it was really more like it was more like 5 total, right? Because of the 1 year I took off didn't count, but it was a true 6 years of real time. But yeah, so no, congratulations on getting through university that way. So were you teaching university students, or were you still dealing with like the high school, or the grade school, the what do you guys call it there? Not high school. What do you guys call it? Pre-university? I'm not sure what you guys call it in the UK when it's that 6th grade through 12th grade for us, those
Yes.
teenage years. What is that called for you guys?
So it's most schools are secondary school, but my school was
Secondary.
actually a
Okay.
high school. So either one.
A primary. Okay. Either one. Okay. So yeah, so your secondary slash high school, were you teaching those kind of students because it was still word of mouth and that's who you were teaching the year before, and before you went to university, that's who you were kind of teaching in the beginning. Did you stay with that clientele, or did you kind of move into teaching fellow, university students that you were with, or younger groups when you started advancing more in the time frame?
Yeah, so I completely stuck to kind of age wise like 10 to 16. So I could just get so good at teaching that in a way because like it's 10,000 hours, right? So I just got better and better and better at doing that. And even though I did higher qualifications in maths, I was like, this is what I know I'm good at, and I'm not going to try and like tease my brain out too much because it gets very complex. So no, I was very happy with doing those like 10 to 16-year-olds. Yeah.
Gotcha. Right. And another question about the university days. You kind of dabbled in it, and you said you got a degree in business. That was going to be one of my questions. So you answered that question. Thank you. No. So when, and I know here, and like when my son went to his university, Bowling Green State University, part of his path, he could have taken entrepreneurial classes that people like. I didn't know that. Like when I went to college all the way back in 1990, back in, I'm 54 in the 2 days, on the 20th. Remember my birthday? Don't forget to give me a birthday present. Even if you want to just buy me a cup of coffee. No, the link will be in the bio. No. Not you specifically, but my listeners. But well, I'm 54 on my birthday this year, so I'm an old fart, right? That's why I consider myself an old fart. I saw a picture yesterday that showed these famous actors, the times that they were acting in the shows that they were acting in, what their ages were, and they were like Blanche from the Golden Girls. I don't know if you remember that show. I don't know if it made it across the pond for that. Was that four
Rings
or
a bell.
five women that lived together that were elder? Yeah,
Yeah.
they like Blanche, she was 52 years old in that show. And I'm like, she looked like an old lady. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm not gray yet, thank God, so I got a little bit of receding, but it's all good. But when I went to college in 1990, they had zero support and classes for entrepreneurship, right? So what you're telling me when you said I went to school for business and they also had entrepreneurial stuff, you kind of mentioned that. Is that something they truly had? Did they actually have classes for how to grow an entrepreneurial business? If so, expand on that a little bit, because I don't think that people know, especially if you're younger listening to this and wanting to think about an entrepreneurial path, whether you're a teenager or whether you're in a corporate world and you really want to get out and you're listening to this episode and you want to know more about what you can do in college, wherever you're at in the world for college, and what courses to look for. So what were those courses called, and did they have an actual entrepreneurial like teacher and teach you entrepreneurial things?
So if I am so candid with me answering this, yes. So it's yes and no. If I start with the yes, I like took modules that were like entrepreneurship, digital marketing, all the things that I now do on a daily basis. But what I can tell you is that most of the things they spoke about was out of a textbook, was the slides that they were given to talk about with the module, was very much
Or
theory.
and antiquated, maybe. Yeah.
Yes. And it was very much like this is a marketing model from 1980. And it's like, that's great. But actually
From
now we think
1990.
about
No.
where we are. Yeah, but if you think about even in that space, think about how much has changed. Like everything is digital now. Everything is social media and content, and everything changes so much. Yes, the underlying principles of consumer behavior do not change that much, but the way that you market them and the way that you connect with your consumer and even some of the behavior in a way has completely shifted. So I went into university thinking like they are going to teach me how to build a business because that's what I wanted. Like that was what I always knew that I was going to end up doing at some point. I didn't think I'd go straight into it, but I always knew I would at some point. But actually going through the classes, I was like, these are people who are academics in business, not out there doing the stuff for themselves and being in the field and learning it for themselves. So my biggest advice to people, if you were ever like, right, how do I make the cut, is actually go out and get some real life experience because that is how I've learned everything, like 99% of what I know through building my first business, building my second business. And I invest heavily in mentorship with other people who have already walked the path that I am going on, that have learned firsthand what it is. Because things change on literally a daily basis. And like doing the thing is how you will learn 1,000 times more than trying to study it and trying to prepare yourself. And this is what will come with it. Like if you my biggest advice is start a business in something that you know you are so passionate about and that you can deliver on and figure it out as you go. Like on day one, you're not going to know how to maybe post a social media post, or you're not going to know how to receive payment, but you figure these things out by going and doing them, and you will get ahead so quickly compared to like trying to study these things and get all these qualifications.
Right. Well, you mentioned something there, and the first thing that popped in, two things that popped into mind was that, that old saying, at least here, fail forward. If you're going to fail in entrepreneurship, fail forward. Don't fail backwards. Fail, learn from it, change. So that's what fail forward mean. And another one I learned too. And well, first of all, the second thing was, that whole school of hard knocks is kind of what you're describing. I don't know if you've ever heard that term in this in the UK. Hard knocks is kind of like that rough and tough, like that the school of hard knocks. Oh, I learned how to become this type from the school of hard knocks is a saying here in the States. And that's okay because hard knocks, if you learn something through failure, they're very synonymous together. Those two statements are very synonymous. And if you fail through the hard knocks, getting knocked down and getting the wind knocked out of you because you thought something was going to succeed and it failed, you're going to learn more from that failure than you ever would from someone telling you over and over again how the right way to do it, right? So another term that kind of really sticks with me as I'm doing stuff, and I've failed, I will eventually have a wall and a poster size frame with all of my business cards that I've ever done through my career stuff and through my entrepreneurial path that I've gotten business cards with. So I've stumbled across, and I started saving those a couple of years ago. And I was cleaning up one of our spare bedrooms, and I stumbled across that box that I'm keeping them all in, and I started laying them out, and I'm like, oh, I'm really close. I'm really close to putting my poster up because I've got so many. I've failed so many times at different businesses. Or I've not, maybe I didn't fail, but it's like, you know what? I'm not passionate about this. Now, the podcasting world and the voiceover world, I was a voiceover actor for the last 9 years. I still do a little bit of voiceover, but I'm more about the podcasting stuff now and helping people podcast. That's what the Entrepreneurial Ignition Path podcast is all about. I meet other entrepreneurs as they see how fun it is to podcast. Maybe they want to start their own podcast, and next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, wait a second, you know how to podcast?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've canceled out. I've made all the mistakes podcasting." So I've took 6 or 7 years to learn how to podcast, efficiently. I can show someone in a month or less how to podcast efficiently and then grow on that. And will there be failures within that first few months? Is there failures in like we have a technical issue right now, but I have a device right now that is going to fix our technical issue. We already tested that. So, right now you're not hearing, as a listener, you're not hearing the major hiss that I'm hearing from her feed, but my audio production on the back end, which is a click of a button, actually will fix that and make her sound like she's on a microphone. Those are the kind of things that my system has actually fixed, yeah, and actually help people podcast faster, that they don't have to worry about the back end time, right? So when it comes to failing forward, another thing that we talk about here in the States is called embrace the suck. Have you ever heard that term?
No,
It
but I'm
sucks.
guessing, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and please share with me some sayings that are local to you about when you're in the middle of the suck. What that means is, my business sucks right now. I can't stand it. I don't like it right now. I have had two clients leave me. They haven't paid me for 3 months when they promised me they would. That kind of thing. And you're in the suck, and you're like, where can I find motivation? Where else can I go find someone else that's motivated for themselves to help them out? Because your business and my business are very similar. We're trying to help other people achieve more in their business. That's what our business is to bring the best out of other people who need a shortcut. They have pitfalls, right? Your clients, my clients, they have pitfalls. My my clients' pitfalls are learning all the audio. My clients' pitfalls is not realizing what podcasts can do to their business. They think it's just, a time suck. It is not a time suck. It is actually the way to grow your business through podcasting. Well, what I do is those pitfalls aren't there with me. I build a bridge over all, and you look down at the pitfalls that I have learned over time. And I can imagine that that's the same thing that you do for your clients, that you have built that bridge to teach them, hey, listen, if you do this on your own, it's time, and everything's time or money, right? So you build this on your own, it's time and your money. You build this with me, it's money and a lot less time. What do you want to do? That kind of thing. So talk about what other terms that you may use in your country that are very similar to embrace the suck, fail forward, and school of hard knocks. Like, what do you guys say in your country? I'm very interested.
I love that. I think, you know, a lot of the language in the UK, and I can't pinpoint exactly, some exact phrases, but a lot of the language is very negative towards entrepreneurship and things like that. In everyday
Yeah.
life, it's just about like, right, we'll just push through, like these things are happening, like and I think entrepreneurship is seen as something that is unstable, that is, you know, uh, will happen for some people, but it's like, they'll always end up back in corporate or something like that. And I think for me, it's funny that you talk about phrasing because I have a whole drawer to the left of me here that is full of basically affirmations and the opposite of that. Because for me, the biggest thing you need to do in entrepreneurship is actually like manage your mind. Is like you will have these things come up on a daily basis. You will have clients leave you. You will have launches fail. You will have people ghost you. Like all of these things will happen, right? But what you have to do is make that decision every single day. And like, right, I could decide to spiral, make it mean something about me, or I can decide that like I'm going to be moving on to the next thing. That through this, I'm going to strengthen my conviction in myself. That through this, I'm going to learn that my emotions are not impacted by something outside of me. And when you have this again and again and again and again, this is where what is happening outside of you, the results, are not actually impacting the decisions that you make, the way that you move, and also the way that you feel about your business. Because this is where entrepreneurs pull the plug, whether they're in mentorship or not, because I see it both ways, is they're trying something for X amount of time. It doesn't work out the way they want it to, and so they pull the plug and they move on to the next thing, or they pull back energetically. And it's like actually when you can keep being moved forward on a daily basis because you have this bigger vision that you're going towards, and that that failure is part of that, that people won't get it, that people will ghost you, then you can almost normalize it and not take it personally. So it's almost being in control of your mind when these things happen, of like, right, how do I want to react to this? And then what is the way that I want to move past this or move with this?
Well, and I'm going to do something you may not know of. It's called the slow clap. I don't know if you've ever heard of the slow clap. because everything, like the wisdom that is inside of you. I mean, you're not 17 anymore, but you're still in your early 20s, right? So
Yes.
the wisdom that you have from you doing what you've done over the last few years with your business, with your first job, with building this new business of helping other entrepreneurs, like you whatever you have done, you have managed to have a lot more wisdom that supersedes your time on this earth, right? Because those are some things that I talk about that manage your mind. I mean, when you said that, I promise you, I'm not kidding, guys. I actually got chills when you said you've got to manage your mind, because I'm in a bit of a suck right now. I'll be honest with you. I haven't had a new client in almost 3 months. I still have some really good, existing clients, and that's okay, and it may be a timing thing, because I am doing so much with the medical stuff and the whole thing that we're trying to build for the rest of the nation. I've actually talked to somebody in the UK about the topic that I am trying to get out to the rest of the nation to start doing on our ambulances. It's actually it's a pediatric therapy that nobody's really doing, but we're doing it in my area, and it's very successful. So we're going through all the growing pains of getting that to be more adopted to the pediatric patient. And there's some suck inside of that. Like, I've got people ghosting me now. I've got corporations that make the products that were totally on board with wanting to help and support us, that are putting this message out, because it only benefits them. They're the product. I'm not selling anything. I'm just telling people, hey, listen, this is how you save a kid's life, and this is a unique way of doing it. And they haven't called me after multiple text messages and emails. They haven't reached back out to me for over a month. I'm in the middle of a suck there, and I'm in the middle of it. Like I said, this is my first Ignition Path podcast in several months because of that project. But on the other hand, maybe I don't need, and that wisdom that you just dropped on me, I'm having an aha moment. You're literally, I don't know if you realize this, but you're kind of coaching me right now. You're people that are watching this actually saw a little bit of what Jenny is doing with her clients, like how she explained all of that, how she gave me chills of what I need to make sure that I have right on a daily basis, meant so much to me in this moment. And I want to thank you, Jenny. You didn't even know you were going to help me like that, but you did. And I mean, now, don't get me wrong. I've got to keep up with it. I've got to make sure that when we get off this call, that I'm like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do today to make sure that my mindset is proper for today. And then tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm going to have a different mindset to make sure that my mindset is proper for that day, no matter what successes and failures that I've had in the day before. And don't get me wrong, I have had a lot of success of other things, or small little baby chunks of success, both in my business and this pediatric project over the time. It's just sometimes the suck overcomes the good stuff. And you've got to remember that the good stuff is actually way better than the suck. The suck is part of getting to the good stuff, right? So
100%.
yeah. So tell us a little bit more about, and because you kind of just gave a small little session without even knowing it of what you do with people, talk to me about your entrepreneurial mentorship business, what the name of it is, where people can find information, how you work with clients. Talk to me about that. I mean, the stage is yours, pitch your business.
Oh, well, I'm so happy that that landed for you, Kyle, because I think that's the biggest thing is that the kind of people that I work with are always after, right, what is the strategy? What is the move? What is the thing I need to do to move my business forward? And actually, when we are in the masculine of that, and we're in the like forward doing what else, this is when actually we can start to run out of puff a little bit. And that is when that suck, as you call it, like starts to completely override everything else because we lose that kind of initial spark and like honeymoon phase of what it is that we did have right at the start. Because right at the start of your business, you have no rejection, you have no one saying no, you have no one ghosting you, like you kind of don't know what is to come. So everything is good. It is really nice and simple. But I think the biggest thing for me, and the biggest thing you will learn from business, and hopefully you can almost see this in the way that I talk about my work as well, is actually learning how to be so infatuated by what it is you do, despite anything that's happening external to that. And this isn't about go months and months and months without anything happening and still feel great, but this is about how can you get the support you need strategically so that the moves you're making actually compound. But at the same time, And this is the way I think about it. You're having so much fun with what you do that you kind of forget that 3 months has gone by, no one's signed just yet. But it's not, it's the balance of like not forgetting so much that you just go into, la la land and nothing's happening. But at the same time, it's not getting so stuck in how can I quickly get there that you're not forgetting that actually people will buy from you when you are so confident and about what you do. Because if you can hold yourself in that, that's when people can feel that they can be held by you as well. So that's kind of the two things that I work on with my clients is I really help you go from zero or inconsistent sales to selling out your core offer in 6 months or less. It took me 3 years, I think, and I get to take all of that wisdom and now put it in a package that you
Right.
can do it in a fifth of the time, or a sixth of the time.
Right.
And it means that
Time
actually
or
to
money.
know
Yeah.
exactly you get to know that the moves you're making are compounding into where you're going. But at the same time, you get to feel so alive whilst you're doing it as well. So that's really the premise of my business. And I think, if you can almost have a think about for yourself when you are reflecting and watching this, is, am I in a position where I feel like I've learned all the information? Like I've done the master classes, I've researched myself, I've tried and tested, like I'm really bedded into my business. I know what I'm about, but I'm ready to do stuff that drives real results. Like this is where I come in for you. So the best place to find me is on Instagram. I am Jenny Unsworth. I'm sure it'll be written below somewhere as well. And you can put me a message just saying that you're from this podcast, and I would love to gift you all a little free value piece that can get you started.
Oh, fantastic. So what's the name of your actual business? Is it Jenny Unsworth? Is it
Yes, it's very boring. It's Jenny Unsworth Consulting. So n nothing too high flive.
Oh. Well, the
With
actual
that.
name of my business is Goodnight Podcasting LLC. So, but I just, I just saw it, I call it GPS, Goodnight Podcasting Solutions LLC is what my business is called, but I always just say, "Hey, it's GPS," because my GPS, I did that on purpose with the word Goodnight. And because I was told a long time ago, lean on your name. A lot of people think it's a stage name. It's not. It's real and it's unique, so people remember it. So Goodnight Podcasting, I'm like, well, that's what I'm doing. And then I make solutions for people. They're podcasting solutions. So GPS, which the tagline is guiding your entrepreneurial path. So because GPS, that's what that's how we get around with maps nowadays. So so keeping it simple using Jenny Unsworth Consulting. I mean, that is exactly what you're doing. You're consulting a business member on their business. So, it's all in the name, and sometimes simple is the easiest thing. So, real quick before we jump off here, so you said that they've got a little free piece, and they can get that through your Instagram, which will be at the bottom of the screen as we talk. Once she said it, it'll still be on here, as I do it in post production. And anything else? Do you have a website that you want to make sure that's in the links and stuff, or is that pretty much the best way to get a hold of you? Is that Insta?
Yes, that will be the best place. That's where all of my content is as well. So if you want to come and have a store, get some value, like especially if you're in a place where you're feeling the same, where you're like, I just want to almost be lit up in my business again and feel that motivation again, like come and binge my content for 30 minutes and we'll move it for you.
Well, and each time I've talked to you, you uplift, like just talking to you, and it may be the accent, because there's Americans are very suckers for foreign accents in general. We love them, and I'm sure you guys say the same thing. Like when it comes to, I know that like Australians really love the American accent. So it's one of those things when anytime I've ever spoke with people from Great Britain or the UK, anywhere over there, or Australia, I'm more intrigued of hearing exactly their next word, because sometimes I'm also deciphering what you're saying because you have a different accent and the way you pronunciate the word. I'm like, oh, she means aluminum, not aluminium, so even though you didn't say that, but those are the fun things to do. But every time I've spoke with you, and we've talked a couple of times now that you're on the podcast, man, You make me smile. I'm interested in what the next words you're going to say. You keep people intrigued, and that's a hard thing to do. That really is. I try to keep people's attention when I'm on the stage doing speeches and talks and educating people, because I'm an educator too in the EMS world. I educate our fellow EMS people, and not all the way down from the EMT basic person who's just an entry level EMT all the way up to medical directors. I have spoke in front of both type of people, which one person is really data driven. The other person is just, hey, give me the information, let me know how I save people's lives. So it's one of those things where keeping people's attention is important. You do a wonderful job at that. I appreciate you coming on the Ignition Path podcast. If there's anything else you want to share that you forgot to share that you would like to share, now's the time before I sign off. So let me know.
Oh, I think like the main thing I want people to take away from this, especially if you are a business owner, is kind of getting out of the everyday and the looking at how the week's gone or the month's gone or the year's gone, and remembering like why you're doing it. Like what is the big thing that I want to create, and move towards that. Like start creating steps and strategies towards that, and knowing that I don't think any big entrepreneur has ever had an autobiography that's like everything was just great the entire time. Like everyone just said yes. Like there's always stuff that's like, I emailed 30 people and one of them got back to me and told me to stop emailing them. Like that is how it always starts. And I think it's quite cool that we get to be those people.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks so much, Jenny, for coming on the Ignition Path podcast. Those of you who are listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you hear something during this podcast that resonates with you, and you have someone else that that would benefit from this conversation and hear what we have both had to say, we've both I always talk about dropping little nuggets. Jenny dropped nuggets, I drop nuggets. It's a very good thing. That's one reason why I podcast, because I want my nuggets to be out there in the world, and I want the people that I interview's nuggets to be out in the world, because those are the small baby steps that get us to the next step of that enthusiasm and that passion to keep us in our entrepreneurial path. So like, subscribe, share it with people. Jenny, thank you so much for coming on the Ignition Path podcast, and we'll get this out. Actually, I think I'm going to get it out today. I mean, once we're done, I got a little bit of a window here where I can get the production done, and it's Tuesday, and I normally drop my episodes on Tuesday, so you're going to be my Tuesday episode before my birthday. So we're not even waiting a week. It's going to be up here in the next probably 20, 30 minutes. So
Perfect. Oh, thank you so much, Cal, and happy birthday for Thursday
oh,
as well.
thank you so much, Jenny. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Ignition Path, fueling the entrepreneurial fire.